Hey everyone, my name is Brandon, aka Smart Home Sellout, and today we're going to be talking about Z-Wave, the low power meshing or not protocol. In this video, you will understand what Z-Wave is, how Z-Wave works, what Z-Wave JS UI is, how to set up Z-Wave JS UI as an add-on, how to update controllers and devices, how to join and also suggesting to join the Z-Wave JS UI Discord. You will learn which USB stick to buy or Tube's PoE Z-Wave kit. You will learn long range pros, cons, when to use it, and how to make sure that your node is using LR. Learn how to use the network graph as well as setting priority routes and return routes. Buy hardware that you know works from specific brands such as Zeus, Innovelli, and Aotech. All right, great. So, chapter one is what is Z-Wave and how does it work? So, what is Z-Wave? Well, Z-Wave is, like I said, a low power mesh bandwidth protocol. It uses a controller, which is normally a USB stick, although they also make GPIO modules for things like a Raspberry Pi. So that's your controller, and your controller will most of the time run on your same hardware as Home Assistant. For example, your Raspberry Pi, or in my case, like a mini PC. Um, so that's your controller, and then you have nodes, and your nodes are all of your devices, whether it's a light switch, whether it is a um, door window sensor, light bulb, you name it, right? Those are your nodes. And then you need something to actually control the controller, and that's where Z-Wave JS UI comes in. So we have Z-Wave JS UI, and this is, let's go to Z-Wave JS UI. Boom. So this is the repo. It is made by Roberts Lando. Um, he creates the front end, and it even shows them right here, Daniel Lando. He creates the front end of Z-Wave JS UI. Al Calzone creates the back end here. We'll go over that in a minute. So yeah, so it uses a controller, usually a USB stick or a GPIO hat. Low power mesh protocol. It also has what's called long range, which Z-Wave long range is a star topology. Basically, what that means is you do not have devices going um, from one node to the next. All devices are talking directly back to your controller. Um, so in a traditional Z-Wave mesh, we use mains powered devices as repeaters. So this light switch, for example, will allow a door window sensor to use this to talk back to the controller. So that's how you kind of get your mesh. And this is all done for you. You don't have to like plan this out per se. Although it is good to have multiple repeater nodes. Um, let's see. You can send mesh, or excuse me, you can send multicast across the mesh. Although that we're not actually going to get into examples of that today, but definitely in the Z-Wave JS UI Discord server, that would be a great place to ask for help. All right, and then the last one on chapter one here is There's something called supervised or S2 communication, and this is a security thing. However, we get an added benefit of, let's say that a leak detector is paired via S2 authenticated. Well, S2 or S2 supervised, excuse me. S2 supervised will make sure that that packet arrives instead of just sending that packet as a node. So, say you have a leak sensor, or a the smoke alarm sensors that you can buy. Uh, it's kind of important that those messages get there, right? So having that S2 supervised communication as an option is huge when it comes to stuff like a leak detector. All right. Chapter two, which controller should you get and what software should you use to control it? So at this point, I'd like to talk about Z-Wave JS UI. However, let's go over which controllers you should get. A popular but older USB stick is the Zeus 700 USB stick. Looks like this. However, we now have the newer 800 USB. I'd take it out, but there's nothing in there. It's being used. This 800 USB stick is from Zeus is the current most recommended, and specifically running SDK 7.22.1, aka firmware version 1.50 that Zeus will call it. That's the most recommended stable firmware. It also happens to be the very latest firmware, at least what Zeus is recommending. So great. So now we have a USB stick or tube. So if you go for a USB stick option, this is fine. However, the USB stick will end up. Let's jump back to full screen here. The only issue with these USB stick installs, one, you have USB 3.x interference, which basically means if you plug this into a USB 3.0 port or 3.1, whatever, or it's next to one, it can cause a lot of issues to where your devices all of a sudden aren't working properly, and you're trying to understand, oh, is this a Home Assistant automation issue? You must use a USB extender if you do use a USB stick. So USB extender, get it, I don't know, a foot away or even further away. Sometimes you need to escape like a rack, like a network rack. If you need to do that, do it. And another option is to instead buy, this is Tube's Zigbee kit, or excuse me, I have Tube's Zigbee kit as well. This is Tube's Z-Wave kit, Tube Z-Wave. Boom. So this Tube Z-Wave kit, let's pull that up here. So the Tube Z-Wave kit is a way for us to take these GPIO module controllers for Z-Wave, and you, Tube basically, you can see in here, he creates this little custom PCB, and that allows us to put the Raspberry Pi GPIO. It's called the ZAC93 GPIO. It allows us to put this right on top, even though it's not a Pi. And what's neat about these, it allows you to put them more centrally located in your house. So as we talked about, our controllers are able to talk to things on our mesh by hopping across different nodes, different wired nodes, such as a light switch. However, if you're in the basement, for example, you might have to do 2 or 3 hops just to hit maybe an open area in your house that you have a lot of or have a lot of devices for. In this case, it's really neat that you can actually just buy one of these little kits. However, the kit does not include the actual GPIO module; it includes everything but. Um, so you need both of these, and now you can take a PoE switch port and go anywhere in your house with it. So you can kind of centrally locate it so that it's not as far away. And this is tested working. I will be showing how to swap over to this later in the video. All right, so we have now talked about which USB stick to buy or Tube's PoE Z-Wave kit. Oh, I do want to mention this Zeus 800 USB, the ZST39 USB stick. It's the same one all across the world. However, if you buy it in Europe, they will have it pre-flashed with different firmware. So, and I don't know if they're region locked or anything like that. But basically, whatever your Amazon is, for example, or buying directly from The Smartest House, which is who makes Zeus. Hey everyone. At this point, I would like to go over installing Z-Wave JS UI as an add-on inside of HAOS. As you can see, we are on the settings page of Home Assistant. This is a brand new installation of Home Assistant so that I can walk you guys through this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Add-ons. I'm going to Add-on Store, type in Z-Wave JS UI, and we're going to choose the only option. Here we will click Install. At this point, just let it finish. All right. At this point, it is ready for us to start. I'm going to check both of these off. The sidebar adds it right there. All right, so now we're starting it. Give it a second until it finishes loading. Time install, so it's downloading a few things, I believe. There we go. Okay. I'm going to say yes, use usage statistics. I am not going to disable change logs. I'm just going to click OK. All right, at this point, we have Zwave JSUI installed. However, it does not know about our USB sticks yet, or a Z-Wave controller. So we're going to go to our settings tab, and I'm going to go ahead and change a few settings here. So dark mode I want on, streamer mode I also want on, tabs for navigation, that moves these at the top here. I like that. General, we are not going to change anything here. Backup, same thing, not going to change anything. Under the Z-Wave tab, here we are going to click this little box and choose this full dev slash by, or excuse me, slash dev slash serial slash by dash ID slash, and then that'll be the same for everyone, and then this huge long string. All right. We also need to now tell it our security keys. So I really wish that these were auto-generated, but that's all right. We just click, 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 all 6 of those. All right. And RF region should automatically choose it to USA long range, but we're going to go ahead and choose that now, or it'll do it automatically in the settings I'll show you for the node itself or for the controller itself. We are not going to touch normal power. We're not going to change measured output. We're not going to change any of these. We are going to change log level to debug and log to file. And then we want to make sure and click save. Unfortunately, this does not auto save for us. All right, we've now saved. We have a controller. And sure enough, it shows USA long range, and we're going to leave both of these at their defaults. If you need to make sure that you need the nominal power of 0 and 3.3, excuse me, oops, node. If you want to make sure that these numbers are correct, you can email Zeus or ask in the Zwave JSUI Discord and see if someone can help you. So at this point, we don't really need to give it a name. We could literally call it something, but it doesn't matter. It's just the controller. Okay, so now we have Zwave JSUI installed. And one of the first things that you want to do is actually update your controller. So look at this. It actually gives us a little warning here. Controller firmware is based on 7.1.9, excuse me, 7.19 through 7.21.3, because I'm on the 700 series, is plagued by vulnerability. So it suggests that we get to 7.21.4 or later. And if we look up Kpine, this one, I will make sure that there's a link to this in the description below. Here it actually, this is where you look up your specific controller that you're going to update. For this example, I am updating this UZB7 device, but it is a older USB stick that you probably won't use or have, which is fine. You will be using the Zeus 800 series, and it links to where to go grab those files. Okay, so it tells us here for mine that I need this, and I actually have to extract this file out of the zip. So I've already downloaded it, and I've extracted the zip. So let's see here. If I go to my downloads, demo application. All right. Here, I don't know. Let's just search it. Where's it at? This one. Let's just copy. And then I'm just going to my downloads. Ta-da. Okay, so we now have this BRD 4206A.global file. And again, 4206A, and we want this file. Okay, so now that we have the file, we're going to go to this guy, our advanced actions, and firmware update OTW over the wire. So OTA updates are over the air, aka wirelessly. But since this is technically USB, it's not a wireless connection, so we're doing OTW. So we're clicking update. I'm going to downloads, point it to our file, click update. All right, should go really fast. This process should be pretty much the same for all of your devices, assuming that they can be upgraded via Zwave JS UI. The Zeus modules both can be, whether you have the Zeus 700, whether you have the 700 USB, the 800 USB, or the 800 ZAC 93 LR, they will all work. It finished. It just reset the stick. Okay. If we close, we should see now an update. Yep, 7.21.4. Cool. So at this point, we just learned how to upgrade the firmware on our Z-Wave controller. Okay. Basically, how this works is we just have our nodes, or our controller at the very top, and then we have our nodes going down. So our controller will always be node 001 going down, and then you'll notice here, starting at 256, that this is where Z-Wave long range starts. So it's giving this looks like it's a lot of information here, but you'll familiarize yourself with it here in a few once you play around with it. So here it's showing us status, whether or not a device is sleeping. Yeah, we'll go over that. Okay, so what that means is if a device is sleeping, that means that it will still like quote unquote wake up to send a command, but that's not a true wake up. A a device literally has a wake period every say 12 hours, 16 hours, etc. If it's a battery device, and a lot of times these are configurable, and you'll turn around and you will configure and say, okay, wake up every 12 hours, and during that wake up interval, it will figure out it like it will if you need to, for example, or let's say that you told it to do a heal, which a heal basically says, hey, look at your node neighbors and figure out like if there's any issues, right? Like, oh, is there a better route for me to go from here to here? That heal will not work while it's sleeping. However, once it wakes up, then it's queued and it will work, or it will do that heal, if you will. And excuse me, that a heal was actually renamed to a rebuild routes to make it more clear what it was doing. Okay, so now I'm not gonna go through every little setting. They actually have quite a bit of documentation on the Z-Wave JS UI Discord, or I mean on the GitHub repo. So we're not going to go into a ton of that. Make sure that we understand how to join a device to the mesh, and specifically using SmartStart. So this right here is SmartStart, and what this is basically on every device you will just have a little QR code. Let's jump back there. On every device you will have a little QR code. It also has the full DSK. Oops, excuse me. The full DSK next to it. It's a really long set of numbers. And what that allows us to do is securely join this. It is technically a public key. However, we're still hiding ours just to be safe here. That's called streamer mode in Z-Wave JS UI. This is a public key. It's the other pair, and it basically makes sure that we're joining that we're only joining this to the mesh because we agreed. We told the mesh, hey, I want to join this device to our mesh. Okay, so what we're gonna do here? Let's see. Jump back to Z-Wave JS UI. So we're gonna click the menu in this bottom right. We're going to click the little plus button. I think I actually have that blocked. Okay, there we go. So we're going to click this little menu icon. We're going to click a plus for add. We are going to call this, I don't know, backyard light switch. And it's actually in my garage, turning the lights on in the backyard. So here, the DSK, we are going to ignore the QR code because that only works for HTTPS installs. There's a few different ways to go about this. I'm showing you the DSK, I don't know, foolproof method, if you will. So we're going to type in that full DSK. I actually have it ready to copy paste for me here. And then protocol, we are in notice what happens here whenever we move from regular to long range. We lose our S0 legacy and S2 unauthenticated, which is fine. Z-Wave long range is S2 only. So now we want to make sure and check those off. We cannot change those later without deleting the node and adding it back to our mesh. And click add. So now it's created this, and this is important. The name that you give it is actually the name that it's going to show up as in Home Assistant, as the friendly name, the device name. The location is the area that it will put it in Home Assistant. So if you scan this and you set this up, like before it's actually, powered on and actually connected to your walls, if you do this now and then you click active, now this thing, as soon as it gets power, will automatically join your mesh. And not and excuse me, when I say join your mesh, it will join via long range. Wait, hold on a second. Long range. That's strange. It literally should show long range right there. That might be a GUI bug. But either way, it says that it's going to use Z-Wave long range, so good. Um, so you cannot switch. So this guy, for example, is the same type of thing where I've already scanned it, but I have not yet joined it to my mesh, and that's why it shows no node ID number. So we gave it a name, we gave it a location, which is the area in Home Assistant. We wrote out the full DSK, and now this thing, as soon as I power it on, it will join to the mesh. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that because I don't need it anymore. And so yeah, so that's SmartStart. So once you do that, you now have a node on your mesh. This upgrade, we are first going to find the upgrade file on Zoo's website. Okay, so this is the device that I want to update, and it shows that I'm on firmware 10.20.1. And what device is it? It is called a Zen 76. Zen 76 is a light switch. So if we go to this page here and we go Zen, 76, we can we can see here that it gives us some options. We have a Zen 76 long range, although that's not what my device is. Mine's an older style. I have a Zen 76 used for version 2.0 hardware only, and then I have a Zen 76 used for 1.0 only. Okay, well, which one do we know we want? Well, um, we actually know that 10 dot means version 1, and 2 dot means version 2. So if we have version 10.20.1 and it shows here that they have 10.30, well then that means that we have an update. So I've already downloaded this file. I downloaded the zip file. I then, in my downloads, I unzipped that file. And now I want to turn around and point to it. So, but we want to make sure that we're getting the right file here. So, Zen 76, and it's a 700 series. And then what I can do here, I can go into version, and it says hardware version 1. And then Al Calzone said here, this 10.20.1 application version is technically the version we want to look at. If you're not sure, email Zoos, ask us in the Z-Wave JS UI Discord. Please don't flash the wrong file. So now that we're confirmed that we're ready to flash the file, we want to, and we're gonna confirm with Zen 76 this firmware. We're gonna click Advanced. We're gonna click Begin. Now it's again telling us, it's saying, okay, we're on 10.20.1. It says Zen 76 file. So I am going to point to that file, and I'm gonna click OK. And it now popped up saying the firmware update was called. It shows here that it's actually updating in live time. Excuse me. Uh, and as you can see, it's going pretty quick. Been maybe 20 seconds and it's already at 5%. We will have to go ahead and let that finish, so we'll do that. Now, a lot of times this update service isn't getting a whole lot of useful updates. So for example, if we look at what the firmware versions fixed, I went from .20 to .30. What do we get on .30? .10, .20, where's .30? Okay. I don't know. They make it hard to see. You basically you get very little changes. That they're going to be changing some useful little quirks, so it's good to update. But in a lot of instances, it's not necessarily going to make the device faster or something like that, right? So it's not just like automatically going to just make it faster. So I wouldn't worry about that. Let's go over our network graph. So the network graph is really neat because it allows you to see your mesh, right? So all these purple ones here, let's click this down. This is our Z-Wave long range. So um, any of the any of these purple, this vanity lights, the garage light, outdoor plug, this one, and this one, those are all Z-Wave long range. So they actually are not part of the mesh per se. They're a totally separate network that's not or that the controller is still controlling. And so then I'll use this as an example here. So look at my kitchen light switch. See how it has this little star? So what I've done here is I actually went in and you can see priority route and return route. And so what I've done, and if we click on that, it will show you these different routes, and then it shows like it explains what each thing does. So hold on, exit out of that. So the last working route is the solid line, and then the previous is the dotted. So and then it tells like what different colors mean and etc. Right? So let's move that up. So what we can do here? Notice how my excuse me, stairs switch downstairs is actually a red line. We don't love that. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna click it. I am going to. I'm actually just saying, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know what? I think that stair switch downstairs will have a good connection to my controller directly. So I just want to remove it from requiring this next hop. So I'm gonna do that. So priority route right here. So you have routes and return route. Route is saying how do I get from my controller to this device, and then return route is the other way around. How do I get from the device or the node back to the controller? So I'm gonna I'm gonna set, and I'm not going to add any here. This is me saying, hey, what do I want between the controller and the device? I'm just gonna set it, and then that's my priority route. Now my priority return route, add, priority, set. And then I actually have to click this little save button right there. Okay, so now we had that stair switch downstairs. It was using, and this is a hop, and it was a red dot or a red line. What happens now? Now my stair switch downstairs is just one green line. So look at that. Z-Wave actually allows us to force something to use a different route, and sure enough, we will have better signal because of it. So pretty exciting. So let's go back to our main page here. This guy is at 98%. Perfect. So once this finishes, it'll give us a little pop-up. It is basically just going to what they call re-interview. That's what it's saying now. And all that re-interview does is confirms that it's all on the new stuff, and we'll even see, yeah, 10.3.1. Ta-da! So at this point, it's been updated. Basically, how that works is this is your controller, right? And you're able to do what's called an NVM backup. NVM stands for non-volatile memory. Non-volatile memory backup of your specific settings for your mesh, or not just settings, but the mesh itself. So what's neat is you can do an NVM backup, then you can move over to another device, another controller, excuse me. So say you're upgrading from a Zeus 700 to a Zeus 800, or say you're going from a Zeus 800 to your Zeus GPIO 800 with a tube. Z-Wave kit. Well, you're absolutely going to need an NVM backup and restore unless you want to rebuild your entire mesh from scratch. So to do that, it's pretty neat. We can go to this little guy. We can go to our Magic Advanced Options, and we can do NVM backup. All right, now this will turn your mesh off while it's doing it. So NVM backup call. It's been a while since I've done this. I want to say it pops up the download when it's done. Let's see. Give it a second. Ta-da! Done. So we now have this .bin file, and now all we have to do is unplug our current one. It literally, is that simple. Unplug our current one, plug the new one in, or if you're using the tube, and then go to your Z-Wave tab. And I mean, you might have to restart depending on how your USB ports are set up, blah blah. But and then you'd have a new number here, dev serial by ID for your new 800 USB, for example. And you click that, you click save, and then now it would show up as your only node here. It would show like 001, and that's it. You wouldn't see any of your other nodes. Kind of scary. Um, but then you would literally do the exact same thing that we just did, and excuse me, not that button. Our little main menu, and then advanced, and do our NVM restore. And all right, everyone. Well, thank you again for watching, and I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe. I also have a buy me a coffee, so if you guys want to buy me a coffee, I'd appreciate it. Thanks again, and have a good one. Bye.